Hello and welcome. This is TVWan News coming to you live from PNG's capital, Port Moresby. I'm Salome Vincent. In this edition, 2017 elections on track, humanitarian appeal for cancer oncologist, and PNG woman honored with US award. PNG Electoral Commissioner Patilias Gamato today met with the Governor-General and confirmed the printing of writs for all the electorates is underway and will be ready before April 20th. The Governor-General, Bob Dadai, will sign 666 writs for the national general elections.
Governor-General Bob Dadai has expressed satisfaction at the progress of preparation by the Electoral Commission in the lead-up to the upcoming national general elections. PNG EC Commissioner Patilias Gamato said ballot papers will arrive in the country next week. Unlike previous national elections, the ballot papers for this election will have the 15 security features and will be color-coded to differentiate between provincial and open seats. The same will apply for ballot boxes. Local company Ballo Industries Limited will provide 70,000 ballot boxes, and this will be made available to the Electoral Commission by the second week of April. Gamato informed the Governor-General that the number of election observers for the national elections has increased with 10 countries expressing interest, including Australia, New Zealand, and United States. The Chief Electoral Commissioner will meet with the Australian Defence Force next week to discuss logistics, in particular transportation of ballot papers to remote areas throughout the country. The Chinese government is assisting the Electoral Commission with 130 vehicles for the national elections. The Commissioner said about 2,000 candidates have expressed interest to contest the national elections. Tere Alex, TVWan News.
Equipping eligible voters with vital information on the electoral process and their right in the process is the main emphasis behind the development of new key awareness messages from the Electoral Commission. The Commission on Wednesday launched the platforms for these vital public messages.
The Electoral Commissioner during the electoral awareness launching says the democratic election process are strengthened by the participation of a population who are well informed of their rights and duties throughout the electoral process.
Awareness on the importance of the vote and the impact on the electoral system is essential to increase citizen understanding of their responsibilities as voters and stakeholders. An electorate that is well educated about the electoral process can fulfill its duty to vote more freely and thereby directly influence the outcome of the future leadership of Papua New Guinea.
The materials include posters, flyers and booklets
that will be distributed to all the 22 provinces in the next few days.
For the first time, the Electoral Commission has also developed an electoral song and video.
Promote a variety of positive messages. We're also working on the election film and documentary for training and for future reference.
Much of the awareness material emphasizes a peaceful and free electoral process. The awareness also targets women and youths who most often take the backstage during the electoral process. Electoral Commission sees that it is important for women and youths to know and understand that they have the right to vote for a candidate of their own choice and that they should not be forced to vote a particular candidate or be intimidated by anyone.
This new strategy uses the faces of our citizens to promote voter participation, which include women and girls and other marginalized groups, emphasize anti-corruption and good governance effort, support anti-violence messages, and encourage a peaceful and successful national election.
Shamin Poreambe, TVWan News.
District Service Improvement Program funds and district support grants can still be utilized during the elections until the return of writs. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill revealed this in Parliament today after he was asked by the member for KVN, Ben Micah, to explain, as many assume that an MP's term in Parliament ends at the issue of writs.
ECA also sought answers from the Prime Minister on Section 27 of the Ombudsman Commission Act that calls for all project funds to be frozen until after elections in order to avoid abuse.
Is it legal for the Ombudsman to do that? And if so, under what constitutional provision or underneath the law of Longolo or any kind of law that we are not able to access public funds that have been legally appropriated to the districts and the provinces under the budget?
To this, O'Neill said members of parliament going to elections does not mean services should also be hibernated until after elections. The Prime Minister also said each member is given 250,000 kina as discretionary fund under the DSG program, and this money is available at their discretion. However, the service improvement funds, he said, are managed and controlled by the district development authorities and not members of parliament. Thus, it will continue to be used even during elections, so services can continue.
They cannot go and say, listen, the entire district to shut down because the member is going to the elections. They must continue to pay for education, they must continue to pay for health services, maintenance of the road. The responsibility now is the responsibility of the CEOs to manage those funds. But as members of parliament and chairmen of CEOs, we will continue. There is no changing. Now, Ombudsman and the other relevant authorities can intervene only when they see that there is evidence of abuse.
On that note, he told the members that some DSIP funds will be paid over the course of the coming weeks. Ruth Rongola, TVWan News.
Trade, Commerce and Industry Minister Richard Maru has confirmed that Fiji has lifted its trade ban for commercial sale of PNG items, including oxen palm, biscuits and rice. He said the move by Fiji was 15 years overdue, but very much welcomed.
The Usino Bundi MP asked the Trade Minister to confirm the lifting of the ban to Parliament.
Can the good Trade Minister confirm or deny he has received any official advice from the Fiji government on the lifting of the ban?
He asked if there would be opportunities to allow other premier PNG products into the Fijian market.
Like our popular ground coffee, our export canned tuna products, and especially those sold to the European Union market under strict EU biosecurity standards, and fresh fish from PNG.
Maru confirmed that the ban of PNG products for commercial sales has in fact been lifted.
This morning I received an official letter from the Trade Minister of Fiji, dated the 23rd of March, confirming that Fiji has now lifted the ban on our imports of oxen palm, rice and biscuits. It's been a long battle, and Mr. Speaker, I'm very thankful that the Fiji government has come good, and I also, on behalf of our country and our government, thank the Fiji government for finally doing the right thing. We've been trying for 15 years, so it's been a long time coming.
He said he would follow up to see if other premium PNG products could also be sold into the Fijian market.
This year we expect Fiji to export 100 million kina worth of their products into our market in Papua New Guinea. We've been doing less than 5 million a year, so the trade imbalance is absolutely in favor of Fiji, and it's important that we continue to work with the Fiji government to increase exports into Fiji, especially when you look at industries like fishing. If it wasn't for the EU market, we'll be struggling as an industry in Papua New Guinea. So it's important that we target markets like Australia, target markets like Fiji, which are quite close to us, to open the biosecurity pathway to allow our goods to enter those markets.
Meredith Kusa, TV1 News.
The Climate Change Development Authority has begun establishing working relationships between government agencies to execute the Building Resilience to Climate Change project. Today, Acting Managing Director Ruel Yamuna signed a memorandum of agreement with the Coastal Fisheries Development Agency as one of the 3 executive and implementing agencies. The MOU sets out broad-term areas of cooperation and agreed mechanisms to facilitate the timely implementation of the 5-year BRCC project. Executive Director of Coastal Fisheries Development, Kevin Kautu, signed the documents alongside Mr. Yamuna in a brief but significant occasion that's aimed at addressing the current and future threats of climate change and related hazards.
Last year was the initiating of the signing of the formal documents. This year is set with implementation. Implementation of the project will involve key implementing partners such as the Office of the Coastal Fisheries Development Agency, NARI, PNG Ports.
The CFDA will be providing technical assistance in its capacity, part of which includes provincial profiling.
And that's basically socioeconomic and studies and market surveys. From fisheries perspective, we basically do not have data, readily available data. So what we've been doing the last 3 years is do a provincial profiling and trying to look at what available data, how we can analyze it, and how we can bring knowledge in terms of market intelligence back to the people.
The project will be piloted in the maritime provinces of the autonomous region of Bougainville, East New Britain, Manus, Milne Bay and Morobe. Each one will implement 3 BRCC components, which are climate change and vulnerability assessments for target communities, sustainable fishery ecosystems and food security investments on island and atoll communities, and enabling framework for climate resilient infrastructure established and communications network, all identified through a participatory process using PNG's Strategic Program for Climate Resilience, the SPCR.
This is an opportunity for us to see how best we can put the necessary systems in place that can provide a consistent source of funding to help with small projects that can help them adapt to the effects of climate change. The bigger goal or the bigger vision is to, during the course of this project, put together a stringent, sound and robust financial management system that can help us to access climate finance from different sources of funding.
Mr. Yamuna said impact assessment reports will assist the CCDA and implementing agencies to take necessary steps to assist the vulnerable. The Supreme Court has clarified that the Ombudsman Commission does have the power to investigate the conduct of the Prime Minister, and it can rather publish its findings and comments. The Supreme Court clarification answers 11 questions referred by the National Court for Constitutional Interpretation as per Section 18(2) of the Constitution.
The questions arose during court proceedings commenced by the Prime Minister questioning the jurisdiction of the Ombudsman Commission regarding an investigation under the Organic Law on the Ombudsman Commission into the conduct of various government bodies and officers relating to an overseas bank loan obtained by the national government. The Prime Minister also challenged the powers of the Commission to distribute a provisional report of that investigation which contained comments that he considered were adverse to and derogatory of him. According to court, the Prime Minister had also sought various declarations and orders, including a permanent injunction restraining the Commission from further investigating his conduct and publishing any further report of its investigation in relation to his conduct. The questions referred to the Supreme Court raised 4 general issues. 1. Whether the Commission can investigate conduct of the Prime Minister under the Organic Law on the Ombudsman Commission. 2. Whether conduct of the Prime Minister can be the subject of comment or findings when the Commission publishes the result of an investigation under that Organic Law. 3. Whether the Commission is obliged before investigating the conduct of the Prime Minister under the Organic Law on the Ombudsman Commission to inform the Prime Minister of its intention to make the investigation, and 4. Whether the Commission can, in any report published by it under that Organic Law, make comments involving interpretation or application of constitutional laws. Answers to all these questions were in favor of the Ombudsman Commission. Supreme Court therefore ordered for the registrar to bring this reference and the answers to the attention of the judge administrator of the National Court track so that the proceedings from which the reference emanated can be determined. Shamit Poreambe, TVWan News.
The case of cancer oncologist Dr. John Niblet was brought up on the floor of Parliament today by lay MP Lujaya Koza. She asked the Health Minister if Dr. Niblet's services could be used while waiting for an oncologist to be appointed. She made a humanitarian appeal.
It's been
The Lay MP revealed that Dr. Niblet had been evicted from the Lay International Hotel due to outstanding payments, appealing that he should be assisted on humanitarian grounds.
For health, it's been 2 months now since a court decision had asked the health department to pay up entitlements to Dr. John Niblet. Apparently, he's been evicted now from where he was staying at the Lay International Hotel due to areas that should have been taken care of, Mr. Speaker, by the Health Department, areas of 256,500 kina.
She relayed that Dr. Niblet was willing to fill the oncologist position whilst waiting for the Health Department to make its permanent appointment. Malabag said Dr. Niblet's contract had ended in February 2016 but had been extended for 3 months more to May 26 after the Health Department decided to end it altogether.
Whilst that took place, he took this matter to court to pursue a tax rebate, citing overtax salaries. So he took the matter to court, and it's been pending up until now, and I understand the court is trying to look at contempt charges against the health secretary on this particular matter that we're talking about.
He said unfortunately Dr. Niblet's accommodation was a personal matter since the health department is no longer the employer.
Yes, so he has been evicted from the Lay International Hospital after incurring debts up to over 200,000. Now, as far as the health department is concerned, that's his own personal responsibility and not on the part of providing service for the health department. That is the advice that I got from my department.
Meantime, he went on to state that the health department had informed him that during Dr. Niblet's time, he had failed to train Papua New Guineans. However, he added that due consideration would be given to use his services. Meredith Kusa, TVWan News.
Veronica Simogun is the founder of the Family for Change Association based in Wewak, East Sepik Province. Simogun started Family for Change in response to the high levels of family violence that she was seeing in her community. She was honored as the East Asia Pacific awardee for the 2017 U.S. Secretary of State's International Women of Courage Award, Washington, D.C.
Miss Veronica Simogun was honored as this year's awardee in recognition of her work as an advocate for women and children who have been victims of violence. U.S. Ambassador Catherine Ibert Gray said she was thrilled to honor Veronica as the 2017 nominee for the International Women of Courage Award for Papua New Guinea. The U.S. Secretary of State's International Women of Courage Award honors women around the globe who have exemplified exceptional courage and leadership in advocating for human rights, women's equality, and social progress, often at great personal risk. Ms. Simogun is in Washington, D.C. for the official awards ceremony and a program of activities as part of the State Department's observance of International Women's Day in March. Family for Change has provided support services for more than 6,000 cases and repatriated more than 60 survivors of domestic violence, providing durable solutions where there are few options for women who choose to live abusive relationships. In addition, Ms. Simogun has developed a program which she presents in schools to address the root causes of family violence. She believes in protecting the women and children who are victims of violence in East Sepik Province, and that through education and awareness, her generation can influence young men and boys to become supportive partners in violent-free homes. Sophia Rousseau, TVWan News.
This is TVWan News. Among stories after the break, more queries on the cancellation of SABLs. Stay with us.